Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by our technical director, Jonathan Voico.
Good morning, everybody.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer-Burnett.
John, that's a great shirt you got on, by the way. Good to see you.
I've had this for a very long time. I do like a good excuse to pop out this sweater whenever I can. But hey, most importantly, guys, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how our show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. And then in the second part of the show, well, that's where we take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or an issue you'd like us to discuss, as long as we deem it appropriate to be discussed on our show, we do reserve the right not to answer some stuff, that you can send it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news about the tip link. It's actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our show on the podcast feed, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching the show a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question. If you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. Hey, you know what I'm doing later today?
I'm scared to know.
I'm actually doing something I haven't done in a while. I'm going to a live wrestling show, AEW.
Wow, where's that?
It's in Ontario, California. AEW is having a big thing. Of course, a buddy of ours, Nigel McGuinness, is part of AEW. And so Ann made this. Nigel's also a magician. So Ann made this big card that says Nigel is magic.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So we're going to take that. We're going to run out after the show is done here to go to the AEW show tonight. I'm looking forward to that, day after Canada Day.
Wow, what a week for you.
It's been a good week for me. I'm not going to lie to you, it has. Anyway, guys, let's get down to business here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. You know, Ballerina came out obviously a while ago, and it's now already on VOD.
Wild.
Not again, I got to talk to the folks at Lionsgate. It's not smart. I mean, you're setting a precedent and you're training audiences as saying, hey, you don't need to bother going to the movies to see these. Just wait a few weeks and it'll come out. So I got to talk to them about this. Anyway, I loved the movie, honestly. Like, was it a great piece of art? No.
Depends on your thoughts on flamethrowers.
Yes. Was it a magnificent screenplay with multi-dimensional characters and depth and wonderful story arcs? No. But you know what it was? It was damn fun. You enjoyed it too, right?
That's exact, but you just nailed what it was. You know, you got to ask, what are the first principles behind why anything gets made? Ballerina was not made to win an Oscar for Best Picture. It was made so the John Wick audience could have some fun.
It was made to win an Oscar for Best Stunts.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. And I thought Ana de Armas was held her own. She gave good flamethrower. She gave good gunplay. She gave good. She's too small, but she can still kick ass anyway.
Oh, you know what
that was so well done.
You know what my favorite parts of the movie was? Like, whenever you have a female lead action hero, a lot of the movies that have female lead heroes just ignore the fact that they're just physically smaller and they fight as if it's two guys fighting.
Right.
But in this movie, they specifically make a point to go out of the way, say, listen, you have to fight different. You will always be physically smaller. You will always be physically weaker. So you have to fight a different style. And then throughout the entire movie, she fights as a smaller, weaker opponent, doing the things that a smaller, weaker opponent would need to do to win the fight. And they never lost sight of that. And it gave it a verisimilitude, if you will, to use, with it. But anyway, what we're here to talk about is not to review Ballerina, which I really enjoyed. But it is now on the digital streaming chart where you can, go and purchase it online. And it's one of the biggest hits of the year. Actually, that and another film, because Ballerina did not do well at the box office. Another film that didn't do so well at the box office, which was also a fantastic film, was Thunderbolts. But as we look over now to the Apple, what the iTunes charts, as they still call it, for the week, look what's sitting at number 1 and number 2. Thunderbolt's still sitting at the number 1 spot, which is not surprising. So it's still sitting up there. And Ballerina is now in second spot, just ahead of Sinners, Final Destination Bloodlines, which is still doing great, The Minecraft movie is still in the top 5 after being on the charts for 59 days. Which, hey, I don't like the movie, but big kudos to their massive success.
Look at number 8 though, bro.
Warfare, Last Rodeo, and Hunt. Why was Hunt for Red October on there?
It probably wasn't on or something.
I saw that
One
it was there. It's like,
went to the new
who did
world.
something? Then The Amateur's up there 28 days later, of course, because 28 years is in theaters. Friendship got up there. Drop, which I really enjoyed. I don't know why the original Twilight's back up there. And the original How to Train Your Dragon because the sequel's in theaters.
Yeah.
And Jurassic World Dominion because there's a new Jurassic World. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, right up there, Thunderbolts and Ballerina topping the VOD charts by a significant margin. And good to see Sinners still up there as well, as Sinners hits streaming as well. But anyway, Rob, are you surprised to see, like, particularly these two films, which let's call it what it is. Both of these films underperformed. Like I've said forever, I've told everybody for over a year, Thunderbolts was not going to make a lot of money.
Right.
There was no world in which a big bunch of leftover Disney Plus B characters in a movie that we've all seen already was ever going to be big. But I think even at about 400, I think 500, 600 still could have been the realm. So it underperformed. Ballerina clearly really underperformed. But here they are on VOD and everybody's kind of continuing to rush out to watch them. What's your takeaway from that?
I honestly think that people just felt that they didn't need to rush out and go see these movies for whatever reason. I mean, the thing about Thunderbolts was I thought Thunderbolts was a great time at the movies. I thought it really delivered, more so than I was. And I think that's actually true of Ballerina as well. But I think a lot of people just, I don't know, they couldn't be bothered. I mean, Ballerina wasn't John Wick. And I think that's what people were thinking. And Thunderbolts was not the Avengers. So,
yeah.
You know, and as good as the films might be, and I really enjoyed both movies, actually. And they both, I thought, were great theatrical experiences. Like
yes.
I saw Thunderbolts in a packed theater, and I saw Ballerina the second week it was playing, but people were still digging it. You had people going, "Oh yeah," in the theater. So they both delivered. Sometimes people they're not rolling out for something. I think both of those movies, people thought been there, done that, maybe a little bit of that, but they were both. I mean, I'm so glad I saw both in the same theater. I mean, this actual same auditorium, big screen at the Harkins, and I enjoyed both of them.
You know, one of the big shames about, well, number one, it's always a shame when a good, fun, entertaining movie doesn't make much money at the box office because it de-incentivizes studios from making any more of those movies.
Right.
Which really sucks because Ballerina is a fun, good time. It's not, I mean, it's not John Wick 4 or anything, but
Sure.
It's a fun, good time. But one of the biggest shames about Ballerina not doing so great is I think if more people saw this movie, there would be a conversation going around right now about how the flamethrower fight is one of the coolest action sequences, I think, in modern movies.
And we'd never seen it before.
We'd never seen anything like it before. And I don't know if I've shared this before or not. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But for those of you guys who watched Ballerina, the flamethrower fight, I was at the premiere and I was standing with the chairman of Lionsgate. I got to hang out with the chairman of Lionsgate, the head boss of Lionsgate and stuff like that. And he was very excited about the movie. He's very happy about the movie, and he should be. And he says to me, "John, how many visual effects shots do you think were in that entire sequence of the flamethrowers?" I said, "Well, the fact that you're asking me makes me guess that not many. So I don't know, 10, 12. He said, "There was only one element that was CGI'd." And I'm thinking through all the different flamethrower shots. I'm like, what was it? And he says, "There's this one part where we had to digitally enhance, put the actor's face over a stunt person. And that's it." I'm like, you mean, do you tell me that the flamethrower fight was all done with actual flames and actual flamethrowers and people were actually on fire? Because, yep, he goes, it was all practical. All of it was practical, except for that we digitally replaced the actor's face in a couple of the shots. Other than that, it's all practical. And my mind was blown. And I'm racing back over the movie in my head about, that was like legit? You did that practically? If they were having stunt work in the Academy Awards this year, because I don't think they're going to happen until the next Academy Awards, maybe it is this. I don't think it's this next one. I think it's the one after that they come. Anyway, Ballerina should be nominated just for that sequence. Because that was a mind-blowing action sequence. And it really sucks that nobody saw the movie to appreciate it.
Yeah, well, speaking to that too, Thunderbolts had a really fun climax. With the Void and
still good.
With the Sentry. I mean, all that was really, I thought, really interesting, really different than we'd seen before, and really gratifying.
A lot of visual effects in it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of both those movies were satisfying.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought seriously, Thunderbolts was one of the best Marvel movies since Endgame. I don't know how many they've come out, but it's got to be either two or three, number 2 or 3 for me of the best, 2, 3, or 4 of the best Marvel movies out of the dozen or so that's come out since then. I just thought it was really terrific.
Me too.
It's nice to see that it's doing pretty well. It's nice to see that it's doing pretty well on VOD. I mean, they should have done better in theaters, but there you have it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, Ballerina, let's call it what? It flopped. It flopped at the box office, despite the fact that it was really fun. But it seems to be finding a second life on video, on demand. What do you guys think about that? Did you go to see it in theaters? If so, what did you think about it? Why do you feel a lot of people didn't go see it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Around here on the show, every once in a while, we like to play, a couple of games. Sometimes we like to play What's More Likely, or as we're going today, we like to play a little True or False. True or False is I simply go on to our community tab and I ask you guys, hey, do you have any true or false scenarios for us you'd like us to address? Whole ton of you guys sent some in. We picked out 4 or 5 of them. So, Jonathan, what do we got up first?
This is a lot better than a game of who hit the plugs. John says, true or false, the Legend of Zelda movie will lean more towards the tone of How to Train Your Dragon opposed to a tone closer to Lord of the Rings, John?
Ooh. Well, I mean, look. For those of you who don't know, there's a live action Zelda movie coming. And I'm excited about the director. I mean, I can't wait to find out who they're going to get to play Link and all that kind of stuff. But the question kind of has to keep in mind that this is still a Nintendo movie. It's going to be, in many ways, a family film. Now, Lord of the Rings, to a degree, is family-friendly in many ways as well. I don't mean it to be a cop-out, but I really do believe that the way they're going to approach this movie is by straddling the fence on it. I think it'll and by the way, like How to Train Your Dragon isn't Mario Brothers. How to Train Your Dragon is more kid friendly, but it's also got action sequences and all that kind of stuff.
Good action sequences.
I think so. I think it'll be somewhere right down the middle of How to Train Your Dragon, which by the way is a great movie. You should go see it. It's in theaters right now. If you haven't gone to see it, it's great. And Lord of the Rings. But to make sure I don't cop out entirely and actually do answer the question, while I believe it'll be somewhere right down the middle of the tone of the two, I think it'll lean a little bit more towards How to Train Your Dragon. And I don't believe in any way that that's a bad thing. So I'll say it will lean more towards How to Train Your Dragon. So I will say true. It will lean more towards How to Train Your Dragon. Rob, what do you think?
Well, first of all, it's a tonal issue. I mean, Lord of the Rings at the end of the day is really an apocalyptic story about the end of the world. And if they don't solve this problem of the One Ring, everyone's going to die. First of all, I would say, like you, it would lean more toward How to Train Your Dragon, but I would compare it more to, I would think it would be more like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah.
Like it would have Dungeons and Dragons.
The Honor Among Thieves movie.
Yeah, and so that film was it was fun. It was family friendly, but it was still more adult oriented. And there was real peril there because the Zelda franchise, it's a fun franchise. I mean, it's fantastical, and it's like you said, it's Nintendo. And I think that Dungeons and Dragons movie would be the way to go. I think it's got to have a little bit more of an edge than How to Train Your Dragon, but I agree with you that it's got to go in that direction. Because Lord of the Rings, while Lord of the Rings is an epic, adult, serious fantasy, whereas you need to have something a little lighter for Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. But damn it, now you've reminded me of that Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie.
It's so much fun.
It's they did such a great job making that movie. And
Yeah.
you know, we're just talking about Ballerina and stuff, and nobody went to go see it. I get it. I got so many people wrote in questions before the movie came out. Say, John, I've never played D&D. I don't think I'm going to get the movie. I totally get that. I do, but man, if you guys have still not watched that Chris Pine Dungeons and Dragons movie, it's a load of fun. It's a really, really fun.
I never really played any D&D, and I had zero problem following along in that movie.
Yeah, and if you did play Dungeons and Dragons like me and a lot of other people, it was just a treasure trove of great little Easter eggs and little winks and nods, and you should definitely.
They could have flipped the title and called it "Honor Among Thieves," a Dungeons and Dragons.
I think that would have been better.
Yeah,
to hide it a bit.
All right, what's next?
We got Wade Simpson. Rob, true or false? Gunn's Batman arrives in theaters before Reeves.
I think false. Only because we've seen the script got turned in for the Batman 2. And I think they want to fast track that if it's going to get made. I think they want to do it quickly. And we've got, you still have Supergirl. They're developing Wonder Woman. Who knows? But I do think the Batman 2 has a better a chance of coming out.
I'm going to say true. I'm going to say I'm thinking, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm thinking the new DCU Batman movie comes out first. Look, I understand Matt Reeves turned in the script, but what everybody is forgetting is that may not be the final script.
Yeah.
James Gunn had said before Matt Reeves turned it in that he hadn't read it yet. James Gunn is the studio. Him and Peter Safran got to read it, and they may have some notes, they may have some suggestions, whatever, and Matt Reeves may need to take another pass at it. And if he does, and that's a big if he does, that could be another year and a half, because Matt Reeves moves real slow. And because of all that, I just feel like they're in a position for this Batman film, Brave and the Bold, that once everything's in place for it, I have just a feeling, because of the Matt Reeves factor, that the Brave and the Bold could move much quicker. And so because of that, I'm going to say, I think it's true. Rob's probably right, but for now, I'm going to say I think it's true.
Sound reasoning, though.
That the DCU Batman movie will come out first. I hope not, but I think that's what will happen. All right, what's next?
All right. Tristan says, John, true or false? The Odyssey will be Nolan's highest grossing movie of his career.
What's the box office on The Dark Knight?
And and they're both over $1 billion, I believe.
Yeah, so at least one. They're not in the 1.4 or 1.5 billion dollar range. I don't think.
Close to the
Here's
edge.
the thing: you just had Christopher Nolan do Oppenheimer, a movie that, on paper, you wouldn't think would make more than like $300 million at the box office, and it came really kissing cousin, just the tip close to the $1 billion mark. It came real close to the $1 billion mark, like 900 and some odd million dollars. You do something like the Odyssey.
Has to be 1.1.
That's what the Dark Knight was?
Right. No, Dark Knight Rises made the most. It was 1.1.
1.1. So you're talking about needing to make like 1.15, 1.19, 1.2, something like that. Okay, so a movie like Oppenheimer came razor thin close to joining the $1 billion club. Now you got Odyssey, which not everybody knows the story of Odyssey. Everybody's heard of the Odyssey. Not everybody had heard of Oppenheimer.
I see Oppenheimer.
Education system and whatnot. Oppenheimer. So, and on top of that, the whole nature of Odyssey, fantasy, like adventure, lore. And by the way, I saw the new teaser trailer. I don't know if you got that. I sent that to you yesterday.
It wasn't there.
Oh, it was gone by the time?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to see the new teaser trailer, and it is truly just a tease, but you get to see some John Bernthal and Tom Holland talking about his father and talking about Odysseus and all. So you have, by its very nature, a much more crowd-appealing, crowd-pleasing kind of nature of a story with the Odyssey, with the fact that it's Christopher Nolan, with the fact that it's got Tom Holland and Matt Damon and John Bernthal and Lupita Nyong'o and Anne Hathaway and on and on and on and on. If Oppenheimer just made 900 plus, why wouldn't I believe that The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan couldn't make 300,000 more and hit that 1.2 billion. I'm going to say true. Oppenheimer will be the biggest box office hit of Christopher Nolan's career. Rob, what about you?
I just don't see it outgrossing Batman. You know, only because that's a tough nut.
It is a tough
one.
one.
And I'll tell you this. I think part of the reason that I see this movie. Look, if this movie's incredible, like if it's the most, and who's to say, you know, don't bet against Chrissy N because he doesn't miss. But it's like
Chrissy N.
I don't know why I said that.
Chrissy N.
Don't ever repeat that again. Don't ever repeat that. But I think though that because it's about antiquity, you know, there's a lot of people that just it puts them off. Oh, it's old. You know, it's even Gladiator 2.
But that's how they look at Oppenheimer too.
I guess so, but Oppenheimer I don't know. I just the movie has to be really, really great. I just don't think it's going to outgross The Dark Knight.
See, here's what I would challenge you though. Okay, so for a second, instead of looking at the movie, instead of thinking about whether it can top Batman,
yeah,
think of it in these terms: can it top 1.1 billion? And to me, I think it can.
I think it could if it's. I just think the subject matter. I think there's a lot of people, especially maybe younger people, that might be put off about the time frame that it takes place in. I could see that being a sword and sandal epic, even though it truly is one of the oldest, one of the most famous stories of all of civilization. Really,
yeah.
I mean, I grew up with the Odyssey and the Iliad. I mean, if they're like Christopher Nolan's sequel to Troy, you know, if they say like, hey, you know, this is it's. I can't wait for this movie. But I just don't think it's going to – I see it dropping in somewhere between Dunkirk and Oppenheimer.
All right.
So like 750 maybe?
Yeah. I could see that because like, you know, 750, 800 million. I think it's going to do very well.
Right. You just don't think it's going to be his biggest film.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be his biggest movie.
All right. What's next?
We got John Unofficial says – True or false, Jurassic World Rebirth will drop in its second weekend box office 60%.
Is that yours, Rob, or mine?
That's yours.
Mine. Listen, I've seen Jurassic World Rebirth. It's not a good movie. There are going to be people out there who do find it to be a good movie, and that's great. All power to them. But I also think there's going to be a lot of people that think like me that this is not a good movie. Even if it wasn't for the fact that it's not that good of a movie. On its second weekend, there is a little film coming out called Superman. And while I believe big movies can exist at the same time in theaters, 100%, it is tough to have Superman dropping on your second weekend. That's tough. So considering the fact that I honestly believe that if Superman was not opening on its second weekend, I still think Jurassic World takes more than a 60% drop. The positive word of mouth is just not there. Again, there are people who like it, and that's great. But I think the last time I checked, and Jonathan, you might want to fact check me on this, but the last time I checked, I think Jurassic World Rebirth had like a 59% or something along those lines.
Look here.
It's just not that good.
52.
Down to 52 now.
Yeah.
So that's not going to give you a big wave of positive word of mouth to have a really solid second weekend. You add on top of that the fact that Superman just happens to be coming out that same weekend. So I'm saying, like, without Superman, I think Jurassic takes a 60% drop or more. With Superman, I'm going to say 70. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to project that Jurassic World Rebirth will take the very rare 70% drop. So just sticking to the question, do I think it's true it'll take a 60% drop? Minimum true. So yes. So I won't say 6% on the nose, but if you're saying 6% minimum, I'm going to go true on that. Anyway, Rob, what do you think of Jurassic's chances against Superman in its second weekend?
I totally agree with you. It's going to drop 60%. Although I've watched a few online pundits react to it, and I've been surprised at how much people have liked it, more than we did. But I think you could be right. I think we could see a big 70% drop. The only thing is, I think we've seen these Jurassic Park movies and Jurassic World movies are pretty critic proof. You know, I mean, because they deliver what people want. And I will say this, the dinosaur action in the movie is pretty damn great. It's just there's not enough of it. And it takes until 50 minutes into the movie where you get the first giant dinosaur set piece. Unless you think a brontosaurus stuck underneath a bridge in New York City is actually exciting.
That's the thing. I remember being in theater watching Jurassic World Rebirth. And by the time you got to the, I keep calling it the whale dinosaur.
Right, yeah.
I remember the whale dinosaur sequence started. And I remember looking at my watch and I thought it took us this long to get into because it's a long time.
And then you're cutting to people you haven't even met yet.
I know, floating on. But
it's so weird.
Now, but here's the other thing too, like Jurassic World Dominion, it made like $145 million opening weekend. I believe they're projecting Jurassic World to be in the like 70 range. So like half of what Dominion did.
That's wild. I think it's going to make more money than that.
Maybe.
It is a holiday weekend.
It is a holiday. Well, I mean, you don't count Wednesday, Thursday, right,
Yeah.
towards it, but it'll be interesting to see how that kind of pans out. All right. What's next?
We got Chris. True or false for Rob? Mephisto will continue to appear after Avengers: Secret Wars.
In his present form,
I have no idea.
I'm going to say false. Look, I know everybody since WandaVision wanted to see Mephisto, and I think we say, well, obviously with Sacha Baron Cohen, it is our thumbnail. I just don't think that iteration of the character is what. I don't think that's a big screen iteration of Mephisto. I think they would. I mean, Mephisto may show up again, but I don't think so.
All right. To me, here's the more interesting question. Like the question being, will he show up and continue to appear after Avengers: Secret Wars? To me, the more interesting question, because the question seems to assume that we're going to get Mephisto in Doomsday or Secret Wars.
Right.
That there seems to be an assumption that he's going to be there. Now the question is, will he be there after that? And so I'm going to kind of answer the question that you're not really asking. I don't even believe Mephisto's going to be in Doomsday.
No.
Or Secret Wars. I really don't. I do not believe that they were going to have this as a big major presence in the screen, especially when we understand about a year or so ago when they started announcing that they were changing their philosophies about how they're handling Disney Plus shows. If they were going to use Mephisto some big screen foil, they would not have introduced him on a Disney Plus show.
I totally agree.
100% they would not have introduced him on a Disney Plus show. So I don't believe they're going to use him in Doomsday or Secret Wars or anything at all, period. Does he continue after Secret Wars, though? Okay, understanding that I don't believe he's going to be in Secret Wars or Doomsday, which, by the way, I don't believe there's any iteration of Mephisto in the comic book story of Secret Wars anyway.
Right.
I think, yeah, he'll be around. I think they'll continue to use him in the Disney Plus series. I think he'll maybe be the big bad of the Disney Plus series. Now, we're going to talk about Mephisto a little bit more once we get done with True or False. This is clearly a remarkably powerful character. I mean, when somebody confuses him for Dormammu, he says, Dormammu can't even wipe my ass. Right. Like, that's how powerful Mephisto's supposed to be, right? Like, he laughed at the idea of Dormammu, right? Dormammu's nothing. So I do believe they probably plan on using him past the year of Secret Wars, but I still honestly believe, with the caveat, that he will not have any role to play in any of the movies. I don't think they're going to use him in the movies at all. I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think they'll have some kind of path for him to be in any of the films?
Look, maybe they'll have him around. My problem is the baggage that Mephisto comes with. Where does he reside? You know, where is he from? What realm? I mean, you don't just, when you introduce Mephisto, there's everything that comes along with Mephisto. And look, I'm still of the idea that the TVA was a mistake to introduce to the MCU. I think it broke the universe. They've relied on it too much. And I think Mephisto's kind of the same way. Like in WandaVision, I think they could have gotten away with it. They could have made it work. I thought it was unusual to introduce Mephisto. We can talk about it more.
They also could have introduced him in Agatha. That would have been
that would have been
obviously
the most obvious place. But the way they're dealing with the supernatural itself in the MCU, it's kind of skirting a line, because, and I think it's part of the problem that we haven't got a Blade movie yet. It's because once you go full on supernatural, like vampires themselves, there's all of these questions that come along with vampirism and vampires that exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I don't know if they can crack that nut. Blade works great when there's just vampires, like the Blade movie. But when you have an MCU with everything in the MCU, how do you caress the rest of it? I mean, you're literally talking about the devil here, you know, and then are you going to deal with hell? Are you going to deal with an incarnation of death that Thanos was in love with, that wanted to impress?
Well, we already got death in Agatha, right? So they changed that.
I mean, and that's what I mean. But it's are you going to do that? Because when you go down that line, you're going deeper and deeper and deeper into the fantastical, which makes your real world in the MCU harder to make people believe in. So I don't know.
All right, guys. And that will wrap up this little installment of True or False. So what do you think, true or false, of any or all of the various questions that you guys sent in? Again, big thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions and scenarios for us to address. And we appreciate it very much. All right, guys. With that all down, let's move on to this, shall we? Well, last night, it feels like just last week that Ironheart started. Oh, wait, it did just start last week. That's right. Ironheart started last week, and I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was particularly good, but to my surprise, I did not hate it.
I didn't either.
And I was expecting to tap out after the first 3 episodes. Quite frankly, I was. But by the end of it, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of curious to see the final 3 episodes now, because I kept hearing that the last episode was really good. So last night, I sit down to watch the final 3 episodes of Ironheart. And I'll say this. It was definitively worse than the first 3 episodes, with an amazing ending.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, we are going to go into spoilery detail. Okay, just give you we can bring up the warning there. We are going to go into spoilery detail on the episode. Mephisto isn't a spoiler. Sacha Baron Cohen is literally listed on the front IMDb page of the show as Mephisto. So That's not a spoiler. But I mean, we are going to go into spoilery detail on this, just so you're aware, in case you guys care. Look, let me talk about the things that really drove me crazy about the episodes, and then let me end on the shockingly great ending. All right. I have always said this. I understand if we're talking about a Lord of the Rings, or we're talking about a DC universe, or a Harry Potter universe, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The normal rules of logic don't apply. I get that, and I'm okay with that. All I ever ask is that you follow whatever rules of logic you've set up in your cinematic universe. If you're a Star Wars movie, follow the rules of logic of the Star Wars universe as you have laid out.
It's essential.
Yeah. To do that, right? So a number of things really just drove me crazy. Number one, the dialogue was all forced and bad. I wanted to really like the witch mom and her daughter. I think those could be very good characters. But it was tough because the dialogue the writers kept giving them was so lame that it made it tough. But I think especially the daughter witch, I think that could be a really cool character. But they just kind of gave her terrible dialogue, so that was frustrating. But the thing that I just wanted to pull my hair out, and I wanted to throw things at my TV, was Riri, without a team of MIT professors helping her, with her mom, her boy crush, her imaginary friend, and a 12-year-old neighborhood kid, made a far more advanced iron suit out of a car in like 24, 48 hours. A lot of people have said to me, oh, John, I mean, that could have been a week or two. Okay, you can say that, but in the show, she starts building it when Parker says, we got a big hit tomorrow, guys. You're going to need your rest. And he has the falling out with the crew. And then tomorrow comes and he hits the house. And on that day, she wraps up construction. So you can say it could have been a week, but in the way the show was made, it said it was like within 24, 48 hours. But whatever, let's even be generous. Let's be generous. Let's say it was 3 days. Let's say it was 72 hours. All right, Riri Williams, this kid, an exceptional kid, but a kid, with her mom, imaginary friend, a boy crush, and 12-year-old child, saying, I have nothing to make an iron suit out of. Wait, we have a car. And made a far more advanced iron suit than the suit she spent a year making at MIT with their labs and their technology and all that kind of stuff. And just in a couple, oh yeah, we made this iron suit.
It was a very advanced car.
It was a very advanced car. And I'm like wanting to gouge my eyes out. And like, like Tony Stark couldn't have done this. Tony Stark with Reed Richards, with Hank Pym could not have done this.
With his incredible equipment that he has use
even if he had all the equipment in the world and everything, he would not have been able to do this. And I'm watching this like, oh my God, are they really doing this? Like, you know what I thought they were going to do? You know what I thought they were going to do? When the mom takes Riri back to the garage, because remember, Riri said in an earlier episode, my dad was obsessed with Tony Stark. Remember that?
Yeah.
And her dad was clearly a bit of an inventor himself. What I thought they were going to do was mom was going to take her back and she was going to hit some secret button and some rudimentary, granted, iron suit raises out of the ground. It's like, your dad didn't want you to know, your stepdad didn't want you to know he was working on this, but because he's such a Tony Stark fanboy. And I thought at least then you would have had the groundwork for her to build around. But instead, oh, don't worry, like nothing to make an iron suit out of. We've got a car. No worries. We have a car. So that I could go on about that for an hour. It infuriated me. Then they do basically the same thing. Ezekiel Stane goes to Parker's thing. It's like, oh yeah, all those theoretical ideas you've had about human cybernetic stuff. Oh yeah, just lay on this table. We'll have you all cyborged up in about 5 minutes.
Nice.
What the fuck? I mean, what the actual fuck? Like that exists in the MCU? And why is there not an army of cyborgs running around? It was just like, oh yeah, I don't worry about it. I can just the person who just wanted to open a Michelin star restaurant is like, oh no, I got this. I got there, instant, super advanced cyborg. Just like that. By a bunch of 2-bit, like, heist crew people. I'm like, what the actual hell are we doing here? And then they keep trying to make me feel empathy for this heist crew, right? Take Parker and his cousin out of it. I thought Parker and his cousin were both really good characters. I really did like those characters. But the rest of the heist crew, I wanted to like them. I did. But they were so insufferable. And then, like, they're trying to make me feel something for them going, they realize Parker's kind of dirty. No, we don't want any part of that. We're out of here. You were just going to murder Riri. Let's kill her. Right? They literally, you got the two Fight Club girls, and they're going, come on, waste of time. Let's just kill her. Yeah, granted, they were told that she's the one who killed John. Okay. But that just suddenly makes you, oh, no sweat. I'm going to murder this. I'm going to kill this person. I'm going to commit murder. They were literally in there to kill this girl. And I'm supposed to feel any kind of moral empathy for them?
Yes, you are, John.
I'm just like, what? Like, again, what are you talking about? The twist about the guy he ultimately was trying to rip off being his own father, that was, you know what? That was the best plot writing, I think, of the whole series. I think that was actually legitimately a pretty cool thing when you realize from the flashback to this, it was his own dad he was trying to rip off. And that guy he was ultimately trying to get revenge on. You know what? Kudos to that. I thought that was good. Give credit where it's due. I thought that was good. So between all these ridiculous MCU logic leaps, completely unlikable characters, bad dialogue. I mean, ultimately, I just got to say this show. Look, I still think this show is better than Echo. I still think this show is better than Secret Invasion. I'll put it roughly on the same level as Hawkeye. Which, you guys know I didn't like Hawkeye. I had some things I liked about it, but overall I didn't like Hawkeye. I'll put it around the same level as, say, Moon Knight and Hawkeye. Which is to say, ultimately, I was pretty disappointed with the show. Especially when you had such a great premise like a Riri Williams. But I will say this. The ending was awesome to me. And I'm not even talking about Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto, which, by the way, Sacha Baron Cohen, to me, was a fantastic Mephisto. He was. His going back and forth between the accents. It's like the Forbes 100 list, worked with 100 of them. 14 kings, 2 popes, and one of the Beatles. It was Ringo. That was, by the way, that might have been the line of the whole show. One of the Beatles. It was Ringo. He has this evil suaveness about him. And what's in return? Nothing you will miss. Nothing you'll miss. I thought he was great as Mephisto. Really did. Never kind of understood what his whole game was. That's fine. We weren't supposed to know yet. That's fine. But that's not the thing I'm talking about, why the ending was great. I've been very critical about the writing in this show. And then they do something, Rob, at the end that blew me away. And that was this. As he's sitting there, as Mephisto is sitting there making his offer to Riri, I was, without any doubt in my head, expecting the stereotypical, nah, I'm good, from Riri. Like she's going to give some awesome one-liner to him that just kind of like throw the napkin in his face, like, I don't need you, and up and walk out. But they did something that I'm honestly going to say is one of the ballsiest things I've ever seen Marvel do. She took the deal. After what she saw it doing to Parker, after understanding and knowing exactly what Mephisto is, she took the deal. I never in a million years would have guessed that. But here's the real brilliance of it. The brilliance of her accepting the deal was that it wasn't out of nowhere. The entire show, always from episode 1 to the end, laid the foundation of there has been no greater trauma to this girl than the loss of her best friend. Yes, her stepdad as well, but the loss of her best friend has haunted her the entire time, to the point that even when she created this abomination, which I'm glad the way, her love interest guy reacted to it, like, this is wrong that you've made this thing. Like, there's something kind of perverted about it.
Yeah.
But she needed that. And throughout the whole thing, constantly flashbacks to her and her best friend talking. So by the time they get to that end and she makes this complete twist of a decision, I'm sitting there, my mind goes back instantly through the whole show. I'm like, they've led up to this. This was, as all the kiddies like to say, earned. This not only hit me completely out of left field, but it did so in such a way that it was completely consistent with everything we've known about this character throughout the whole show. And I had Anne beside me on the couch, and I literally flopped back in the couch when it happened. I'm like, and I said, this is the ballsiest thing I've ever seen Marvel do. And you know what? It was also consistent with the fact that while some people have been critical of this, I've kind of liked that Riri is not a moral North Star. She is a complicated character with faults. She wants to be a good person. She tries to be a good person. She has good aspirations and good dreams and good goals. But they've shown her throughout to be a morally flawed person. Throughout it, whether it's being willing to join a crime gang or whether, even though she didn't like doing it, like she literally blackmailed Ezekiel Stane to doing what she wants done, like all this kind of stuff. Like, they've always shown her throughout the show as a morally flawed person, which then again stayed consistent with at the end. to get what I really want, I'm willing to make a deal with the literal devil. And then as she hugs her friend at the end, like you see then the marks start to grow on her. Again, I don't know where they're going to go with it, but as somebody who did not like this show, at the end of the day, the ending didn't save the show for me. It's not a good show. But give credit where it's due. They swung hard at the end, and they still lost 10-1, but they hit that one out of the park at the end to get the one. They hit that out of the park, and I loved it. And Rob, it left me in this weird place. Here's the weird place it leaves me. Do you know last week marked the 3-year anniversary of when they filmed this show?
I did not know that.
3 years last week. 3 years, which means this show was a firmly one of the products of the Bob Chapek era.
Yes.
What the ending of this show did to me, even though I did not like the show, now knowing what their new philosophy is of how they're handling Disney Plus shows, now that they're going to have traditional showrunners, which is part of the reason why I think we've got some half-decent stuff coming up soon, all that kind of stuff, that ending combined with the fact that they've got a new philosophy of how to do this, I didn't like Ironheart. I hope they do an Ironheart season 2. And it feels weird to say that. All the complaints I have about Ironheart, all the things that I think did not work, but understanding the nature of the show, when it was actually made 3 years ago, and how they ended it, it makes me go, I bet they can do a season 2 much better. I bet today they could do a season 2 much better. I don't know if they're going to do it. I don't think anybody watched this show. I think when we get the ratings numbers, we're going to find out it was even lower than Daredevil. But I am sitting here today as somebody who did not like the show, as somebody who I kind of hope they do a sequel to this, because I thought they killed that ending. Anyway, you had a chance to watch it. What are now your overall thoughts of Ironheart?
I agree with you about the ending. It was unexpected and it was really well done, and the show led up to that.
Yeah.
My biggest criticism was that I don't think the story that the first 5 episodes were telling was the best way to lead into that conclusion.
Completely agree.
In the sense that you could have had if you knew that you were going to have an ending, first of all, you're making a lot of commentary on sort of race relations in America, the fact that people have to do certain things because of their economic status. Are you the Sopranos, or are you Ocean's 11? That's a really interesting and they did all this stuff that they were putting in there. So there was a lot of really interesting, I thought, commentary buried in that show. But if at the end, I love stories about science and faith, and there was certainly that's going on when you are combining science and mysticism in a character and going toward that direction. To ask questions of morality and of should you or shouldn't you do this, the fact what she did with her AI, her friend, in creating the AI and doing, I think that there was they had all these interesting ideas that could have been put together in a story that had more to say about these ideas than what we got, because it felt like the final episode made everything else. I wanted the rest of it to be just as interesting, and because it was an unexpected turn with the character, because the character makes a pretty big moral decision. I mean, she's dealing with grappling, and she's basically gone down literally a dark path that you would not expect anybody to go down.
Particularly an MCU hero.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And I'm like, I wish the show led up to that, because it would have been shocking. It could have been it was still shocking, but it didn't pack the wallop. And you know what? I liked a lot of the cast. I thought the show was really proficient. And I just thought, again, the writing, like you're saying, it's always the writing, but this show was missed potential that was saved by really a terrific climax, at least an unexpected climax that took the show into a whole different realm. And I wish it could have been more than it was.
By the way, I want to throw this in here. You were just kind of talking about the cast. Let's bring this up. The girl who played Natalie, Lyric Ross, who I believe was in This Is Us. I think she's the same girl who was in This Is Us. I really got to say why I thought I have no complaints about any of the cast, to be honest with you.
Right.
Thought the woman who played, they all played the dialogue they were given, right? But I do got to say, I was particularly impressed with Lyric Ross as Natalie. I think she was kind of the standout in this, and I look forward to seeing more. And of course, the guy who played Parker, and I thought he was great. Again, I really have no complaints about any of the cast. I did think some of the tie-ins with Doctor Strange and having the girl being that there was a dropout of Kamar-Taj.
Right.
I like that. The fact that the daughter instantly recognized what it was Riri had in her pocket, and so therefore opened up the dimensional door, took him in. I thought that was all pretty clever.
Yeah.
Dropping Doctor Strange's name. Did you see the post-credit scene, by the way?
Yes.
I didn't until this morning. I saw somebody mention it, so then I went back and watched it. That opens the door for some possibilities.
Yeah, it's funny with the Marvel shows, and the credits are so long that I always scan through. I'm like, I gotta look. I've always scanned through. So I did see that.
Yeah, so I thought the post-credit scene was pretty good. Maybe they can set up a Parker redemption kind of thing. Because again, Parker, at the end of the day, Parker, he's a dude who got really screwed over. Of course he turned out the way he did. And maybe they can set up some kind of a redemption arc for him. I don't know. I do like the little girl witch. I like her a lot. I think she's fun. I think
that's why the show to me had lots of potential.
It has the building blocks that you can make something really good out of it, right? And that's why, while I acknowledge it's weird to say that I really didn't like the show overall, I think there's a lot of potential for a season 2 if they do it better. If they do it right, I think you could have something really interesting and really fun. And I really do hope they keep Alden Ehrenreich's character around. Because I at the end of the day, he's like, yeah, sorry, he's beating up Riri. He's like, sorry. I didn't like the whole thing about, I'm going to knee you in the balls and that'll turn off your system. Why on earth would you think that? Why would kneeing him in the balls turn off his system? And
have you ever been kneed in the balls?
Yeah, it's turned off my system for sure. But
more Star Trek jokes too. Come on.
But and that's the thing I got to say. I'm watching the show, and like all the Star Trek references come up, and I'm like, I remember thinking to myself, even if Rob is hating this, I bet he's smiling right now.
And they were not bad. Sometimes
they were not bad.
Sometimes they're grading Trek references to be grading, but those were not bad.
Like the one on the coffee is just James Tiberius.
Yeah.
They didn't even say Kirk on it; just said James Tiberius,
which I loved.
Rob would appreciate that. So anyway, guys, that's kind of overall thoughts on Ironheart. I think a badly executed show with good performances, the right cast, and a terrific ending that has all the potential and building blocks there to do a much better season 2. And so, again, I don't say this often. I did not like season 1, but I really hope they do a season 2. Don't say that very often, but I'll say it here. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think about Ironheart? Did you get around to watch the finale? If so, what did you think about it? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your topics and questions. But before we do, we'll bid adieu on this fine Wednesday to Robert Meyer Burnett. Great job as always, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I will see you tomorrow.
I will see you tomorrow. And also, before we get to your questions, we're going to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Stitch Fix. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Stitch Fix. Let's be honest, shopping is not my thing. I've wasted way too much of my time either in stores or scrolling for clothes, only to end up with stuff that doesn't fit or just, doesn't work. See, that's why I use Stitch Fix. You take a quick style quiz, your size, your vibe, your budget, and boom, you're paired with a real human stylist who curates pieces just for you. They send you a fix box with clothes actually fit for your life. Stuff you'll wear to work, on weekends, or wherever. It saves me time, helps me look great, and I never have to step foot in a store. You try everything on at home, keep what works, and send back the rest. Free shipping and returns, no subscription required. Oh, and your first fix? The try-on is totally free. So if you're tired of the endless shopping grind, this is your sign to try Stitch Fix. Seriously, it's style without the stress. Head to stitchfix.com/Campea to get $20 off your first order, and they'll waive your styling fee. That's stitchfix.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Stitch Fix for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the important stuff. Taking your live comments and questions. Jonathan, what we got up first?
Sci-Fi Extremist says, so allegedly Megan 2.0 turned out the way it did because Kella Cooper wanted to keep the horror roots intact, and the powers at that be didn't, so they fired her. She's only credited for story, but Gerard Johnston is the only screenwriter, along with being director.
I have not read that, so I can't give any affirmation to that, if that's true or not. If it is true, I don't know why anybody thought, hey, we had this out of nowhere, out of left field, great little beloved hit with Megan. Let's change everything about it. Like, you would think, like, if anything, studios are often criticized for saying, just do it over again. Just do it the same thing again. So you would think if the studio was going to screw this up, they would fault to just redo everything you did in the first one, which probably would have been better. But yeah, it's too bad, because I like that first Megan so much, and this second one was just so crappy for whatever reason it was.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, good day, John. If a review embargo is placed on a film, is it enforced through a signed contract? Why did critics not post official reviews for Jurassic World Rebirth after they saw it via the Screen Unseen?
Well, no, okay. First of all, for review embargoes, the way that works is it's an agreed upon thing. Hey, film critic, we are going to invite you to come to this advanced screening. And then sometimes there's no review embargo. Most of the time there is, but sometimes they're not. But when there is, they say they'll let you know in the invitation that you get. Like, I still get them here, but like in the invitation, it'll say, hey, come to the press screening, click here to RSVP. It's going to be on this day at this theater at this time. And then they'll normally put in those invitations. Reviews are embargoed until 7 a.m., whatever date, whatever. Social media embargo can be, because sometimes there's two different embargoes. When you pay to go see a movie like Screen Unseen, you don't have to abide by any embargo. There is no embargo. If you go to a public screening of something, you are not under an embargo, period. So if you're asking, well, why didn't the critics put out their things after the Screen Unseen? It was simple. They weren't at the Screen Unseen. That's the answer. There was no guarantee that Jurassic World was going to be the Screen Unseen. I went, guessing that it would be, but a lot of film critics are, they're very busy, and there's no guarantee the Screen Unseen was going to be Jurassic World. So yeah, the only reason a film critic wouldn't have put out their review of Jurassic World Rebirth after Screen Unseen is that they weren't at a Screen Unseen screening. Because once you go to a public screening of something, you are under no embargo. There's no such thing as an embargo if you go to a public screening. All right, what's next?
We got Hayden, big fan of your show since AMC Movie Talk days.
Thank you, man.
Just saw Rotten Tomatoes release a new app where you can follow people and their reviews and lists, basically a letterbox. Would you think about joining it? Would love to follow your posts and lists on there.
Here's the funny thing. I am a registered Rotten Tomatoes film critic.
Right.
Whenever I feel like it, I can jump onto Rotten Tomatoes and put in my review and input my score, and it'll count towards the Rotten Tomatoes critic meter. And I just never do it. Maybe like once or twice a year, I'll go in there and do that. I just, which is weird because I really like Rotten Tomatoes. I believe Rotten Tomatoes is a really valuable tool for film fans. I really do. I know everybody likes to pretend they sound cool by saying, oh, who cares about Rotten Tomatoes? Rotten Tomatoes has a real service to play, and most people just don't fundamentally understand how it works. But I just normally don't use it. As a matter of fact, I think the last time I used it, I won't say who, but this is 100% true story. There was a major movie came out, major. It was a wide release film. A wide release film came out, and one of the stars of the film saw me talk about it on my social media and saw that I loved it. And one of the stars of the film literally reached out to me and said, "Hey, John, thanks so much for the kind words about our movie. You know, it was a real work of passion. We really loved it. But listen, we could really use some help on it. I mean, if you loved it," because he already saw that I said I loved it on my social media, "would you mind putting," because I looked on Rotten Tomatoes for your review and it wasn't on there. "Would you mind putting your review up on Rotten Tomatoes?" They weren't asking me to put up a fake review. They already saw that I loved the movie on my own social media. And they said, "Hey, would you mind helping our movie out by going to put it on there?" So I'm like, sure, why not? So I went and I put my review up on Rotten Tomatoes. But honestly, that's about it. I like maybe once or twice a year I put things on there. So I'm not really interested in doing that, to be honest. It's a pretty good feature. It sounds like a good feature. I applaud it. I'm just not interested myself in participating in it.
I do feel, just real quickly though, that the issue with that is then you're going to just be following the people that you typically like. And then you get stuck in this kind of bubble of like, just only like reading what you like and not expanding other people's opinion. You know what I mean? Yeah. And here's the problem with us as film fans, and I include all of us in this, is that especially when it comes to critics, we only people tend to navigate or gravitate towards critics that agree with them and that say things they already agree with. And I've never understood that approach. Like I love listening to critics who often share my taste, but I love listening to critics and reading from critics who often don't share my tastes. Yeah. Because it gives me a different perspective on why I do or don't like something. Yeah. And we're not talking like this movie sucks. It's just mid. But I mean, no, we're talking about actual arguments. Yeah. But if you're going to use that feature in a holistic way, like, hey, I want to go to Rotten Tomatoes and see what all the critics kind of think. But I also like having a little side list of these particular critics that I like to pay more attention to. That can be good, but you're right. It does pose that danger that you just create your own little echo chamber for yourself. All right. What's next? Corey Gaines, we've all seen the image of Superman marketing of the mysterious person in the cloth-like mask. I know it's not going to happen, but with the connection to James Gunn, would it not be awesome if that was the kid from Brightburn that was all grown up? No, because nobody watched that movie and nobody would know. It would be meaningless. It would literally be an inside joke to, if you were in a theater of 400 people, maybe 16 of them would get it. So honestly, no, that would be a terrible idea. It would be a terrible idea if they made it the Brightburn kid. All right, what's next? Thomas Patterson. I disagree with Rob on relaunching Indy. Part of the issue with the new ones is that he was no longer an adventurer in his prime, making it less fun. I think you can set more stories around the original three, just have a different actor on new adventures. Yeah, I mean, again, I am all for relaunching Indiana Jones. Me too. All for it. Because you know why? Guess what happens if it's bad? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing happens. It does not take away your childhood, guys. It doesn't diminish the original films. If anything, statistically, this has been proven as a fact. When reboots and everything get made, you start to see increases in VOD viewership and streaming numbers of the originals. We were actually just looking at the streaming charts. Yeah. And a number of those are on there. It's like, oh, this old original one went up. Like the How to Train Your Dragon, the original animated How to Train Your Dragon has gone up on the VODs because the remake's in theaters. If the remake's bad, nothing happens. Yeah. There's no danger. There is no downside. So I just think Indiana Jones is such a great character that, relaunch it, reboot it. Go back to the Nazi days, reboot it, give us a new Indiana Jones, and maybe it'll be great. And if it's not great and it's terrible, oh well, who cares? You move on. Literally nothing bad can happen. Anyway, what's next? Abdullah says, do you think Tobey Maguire will ever return to acting besides Spider-Man? I think, you know what? I think I just saw something that he does have coming out. Hold on a second. I almost put Tony Maguire. That's his cousin.
McGuire, IMDb. I think I just saw that he's got something coming out. Hold on a second. Let me just double check this on IMDb because maybe I'm dead wrong. All right. No, actually, he doesn't have anything listed coming out. He's been in a couple of things since Spider-Man No Way Home. He was in a James McKay thing called Babylon. Then he was in a TV miniseries called Extraploitations. Extrapolations. Thank you. I can read today. I went to schools. And then I thought I heard just recently he was going to be in another little thing. Anyway.
He's probably in talks.
Look, between the money he makes on residuals from all the high profile stuff he's done, and on top of the money that he makes playing poker, because this guy, he makes a lot of money playing poker. He doesn't really need to, but honestly, I don't know. Maybe. All right, what's next?
We got Garden Variety with a two-parter. On the gaming discussion, getting tons of ads saying that they will be my AI girlfriend, bring on the filthy. It gave me a thought, not there. Is AI good enough to be an online dungeon master? And I found AI Realm. You have to train the AI to play how you want it to play. I've spent a lot of time learning 5th edition 2024 playbook as I played D&D as 2nd edition. But you can teach it the updates, as currently it did not have the 2024 updates. Mapping is an issue, and I've had to remind it sometimes, but amazing narratives. AI Dungeon Master.
Here's the thing. If you've played Baldur's Gate 3...
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what it is. You kind of have an AI Dungeon Master. In a very rudimentary, basic kind of way. But yeah, whenever you play a computer role-playing game, you kind of in a way already have an AI Dungeon Master who, rolls the randoms and the encounters and the attacks and defense and the damage and all that. Like, you kind of already do have it. So I could see it working that way. But again, it would have to come with a preset storyline and the story. It's just like any dungeon master would, that the storyline you're gonna be taking your adventures through, who your main characters are, all that kind of stuff. But they, again, in a very rudimentary way, they kind of already do it. All right, what's next?
We got Howard. Hey John, I am so annoyed here in Vancouver. We only have one 40X theater in the entire city, and since F1 and Jurassic World released only days within each other, F1 is only in 40X for 2 days. After that, Jurassic will occupy all the 40X screenings. Why?
Yeah, listen, I don't actually think we have many 40X screens around us.
I only have that one in North Hollywood.
I'm only familiar with 2, and that's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think even in LA we have many of them. I'm sure there's more than just the ones I know about, but the fact that I'm not even aware of them shows that they are a pretty specialized thing. That's the other thing. A lot of people don't realize just how few true IMAX screens there are. I think in LA, the movie capital of the planet, I think we have 4 full screen IMAX, like full true IMAX screens in the area. But yeah, 40X is also a pretty limited one. All right, what's next?
I think we would have gotten a lot more. The pandemic really hurt theaters financially, so they couldn't expand.
Yeah, we could have been at a different stage right now. Yeah. Absolutely.
Last note on AI Realm. Pain in the butt to try to teach, train an AI verisimilitude in narrative storytelling, especially as it cannot see a map or building mapping and builds as it goes. That's true.
Listen, honestly, just get a real DM.
Get a real boy.
As a matter of fact, Ann and I were just talking about getting a new game going, but Ann is normally our dungeon master when we play. And I'll see if I can find this one photo if I can. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but, and I've done some DMing for various role-playing games that we've played as well. But, actually, this is a great image. I love this. We have this game table.
I love that table.
Some of you know that. Oh yeah, we played our Star Wars RPG. Yeah. So we have this table that we literally built.
Oh, this is your old place.
Yep, this is at our place in Burbank.
Yeah.
But we literally built this table. See the guy with the hat on? He's my buddy. And his name's Spencer. And he's literally a Hollywood set designer. And so we had this 65-inch TV that we weren't using anymore. And he literally said, you know what we should do? Let's build a gaming table around it. And it had all USB-C power, and it had all this kind of stuff in places for dice. And then we made a TV right at the center of it that Anne could control with maps and images and stuff like that. So you can see Anne at the head of the table there. She's our dungeon master when we would play. But anyway, and we still have this table. And like I said, Jonathan, we used it for playing some Star Wars role-playing games.
Mm-hmm.
But like Anne and I have been talking recently, we want to start playing again, but neither she or I have time to put a campaign together.
Mm.
And then we found out, do you know there are literally dungeon masters you can just bring in virtually.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That you can hire for like a really cheap price.
Yeah.
And you just tell them what kind of players you are, what kind of games you like. And these dungeon masters online, they will put together a game for you. And then you bring them in via Zoom or something.
That's fun.
And they'll run a campaign for you.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if you want to get a good Dungeon and Dragons game going, that sounds like a much easier approach. All right. What's next?
All right. Garden Variety says Sandman Season 2, July 3rd.
It's been too long. I've kind of lost... I really like Sandman, but I've kind of lost my interest in it now. Don't get me wrong. When it drops, I'll probably check it out and get excited about it again. But it's just one of those things now where what's it been? It's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I've kind of lost my enthusiasm for it. But I'll probably check it out when it comes around. All right, what's next?
Bobby Jackson, I know we're still pretty far from Oscar season, but what's weird is we're halfway there. But if Sinners gets some nominations, do you think it will return to theaters in IMAX?
No. I mean, look, the reality is, as great as Sinners is, and I think it's the best film of the year so far, it didn't make a huge amount of money at the box office. Like, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I don't think it even made 400 million.
No, it was 3 something.
Yeah, now it was very successful for what it was, like an R-rated vampire movie that they made it for a pretty reasonable budget.
364.
How much?
364.
Yeah, 364. But again, that's not the type of numbers that you can go, let's do this big re-release. So my guess is no, but absolutely no on IMAX. They won't use up IMAX screens to put that on when it never had a huge audience in the first place. But I still do think it's the best movie of the year so far. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says Sacha Baron Cohen was the only good thing about Ironheart. Riri is the most unlikable character. The season itself felt absolutely rushed. The plot was stupid. Like, I honestly had a more enjoyable time with She-Hulk. But bless your heart if you liked it.
I would say that, and again, I'm on record. I don't think the show was good. I don't think it's the worst show they've done. I do think it's better than She-Hulk, but I would actually say this is going to be weird. In as much that Riri frustrated me sometimes, I think her moral imperfections kind of made her a little bit more of an interesting character to me. It certainly made her unpredictable. Again, highlighted in that amazing ending where she literally chooses to make the deal with the devil. And you realize throughout the show, they've kind of laid the groundwork that, yeah, maybe she would. And again, this is not me defending the show. I don't like the show, but I do like to give credit where it's due. And I kind of feel like those character imperfections about Riri were actually one of the things I thought was a good thing about the show. But anyway, that's just me. I totally see where you're coming from too. All right, what's next?
You will own nothing and be happy, says, hey, Chatman, a little update on that Ubisoft story. There's an online official petition in the European Union called Stop Killing Games, which, if it reaches 1 million, it will go to courts in the European Union. It's about companies removing access to single-player games after it goes offline. It's about ownership of media in general, not just games. The EU took Google and Apple to court for their problems and won. I was hoping you would share it. It's only for EU people, but it's at 800,000 right now. If it passes, it's
okay. First of all, I think you're misunderstanding how that works. Like, it doesn't matter how many signatures you get on something; it doesn't automatically mean anything, especially if it violates law. Here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. You cannot mandate a company to keep spending money on something if they're losing money on it. You can't mandate that. If a company can show we're losing money by keeping support up for this thing, and it's losing us money, it's hurting and damaging our business to do this, you can't mandate that they continue to do it. You can't. Now, what needs again, it does add to one of the big pitfalls of the digital era. It's because, once a company makes a Blu-ray or makes a DVD disc, whether it's holding a movie or a TV show or a game or software or whatever, once they make that and hand it over to you, it doesn't cost them anything more for you to play that game and use that game and whatever and what have you. But in the digital era that now relies so much on games using servers and all that kind of stuff, it's a different world now. It has a lot of advantages, like for sure. It has worlds of advantages, absolutely. But one of the drawbacks is that the thing you use needs access to a server to operate and run those things, and it costs the company money to operate, maintain, and run those servers. If that thing is now no longer making them money, just losing them money, you cannot mandate somebody to keep doing it. So it's a problem. It's a problem that needs addressing, but I don't think you're going to see any court in the world mandate that. I just don't think that's something that's at all realistic. And I think, honestly, gamers are unrealistic if they think they can do that. I'm empathetic because that is a problem. It's one of the reasons I don't buy a lot of games. But that is not the answer, in my opinion, at any rate. All right, what's next?
We got Heisenberg says, hi, John and company. Hope you are all well. There was an Indiana Jones topic on the show yesterday. Just wanted to mention the Indiana Jones game that was came out recently, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It truly felt like playing an Indiana Jones movie. It was set between Raiders and the Last Crusade and could have easily been made as a movie and released after Temple of Doom. And before Last Crusade, it had a fantastic story with lots of different locations, starting from the Vatican and ending in Iraq. Troy Baker as Indiana Jones almost felt like Harrison Ford himself was playing Indiana Jones in the game. If you ever get a chance, I recommend you play the game or at least watch the full gameplay of the main story missions. Thanks, Bring on the Filthy.
You know, it's funny. I was really excited about that game. And then when they announced that it was going to be first person, everybody got so mad.
Yeah.
I want to see Indiana Jones. And everybody got mad and pissed off. But then the game came out and I heard a lot of really good things about it. I've never tried it, but I am planning on giving that game a shot because I've heard nothing but good things about it. And I've heard it's put together really well. I heard the storytelling in it's pretty good, and that's got a really good sense of adventure to you. And from time to time, you do get third-person perspectives of Indy doing his thing. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. Absolutely. All right, what's next?
We got Anonymous agree with you on your Ironheart review. One thing that really brought it down for me was that I find Riri to be very annoying. Her motivations are quite selfish. The ending also almost scrapped the whole message of reconciliation with her grief, like Flash's end.
I see. This is the problem when we as an audience pre-write what we think the ending of a show should be. The show isn't about resolving her grief. It's about her dealing with her grief. And it resolves in a way that we weren't expecting. Again, I hate being put into the position that I'm defending a show that I don't like, but I do give credit where it's due. And to me, I think Riri's flaws are part of what makes her so interesting because it's not something Marvel usually does. And the ending choice to make the deal with the devil, that it was easier to do that than truly face her pain, which she has never done. And that's a point they make in the show, that she hasn't really truly faced her grief, her pain. Her mother says to her at some point, ever since your best friend died, you've run from it instead of just really standing your ground and letting the pain wash over you, you know? And therefore, her decision at the end of the show is consistent with that, with her character. Now, I get it. We as TV fans, well, I don't like that the character made that choice. Okay. I respect that, but it is kind of what that character would do, given the character that they introduced us to. And it was a very different thing than what we are stereotypically expect our heroes to do at the end. And so, again, for me, as somebody who doesn't like this show, I thought it was a pretty ballsy ending. And it actually makes me curious to see them do a season 2. But anyway, that's just me and my take on it. All right, what's next?
We got Dave Jenkins. Hi, John. I'm 28. Absolutely love Indiana Jones. Now they're making a reboot. There was one man who instantly came to my mind that I feel has the charisma, the masculinity, and the ability to play him. His name's David Cornsweet. Thoughts?
I got to see Superman before I'm willing to give David Cornsweet anything. Like, look, do I think David will be great in Superman? Sure. But the little bit I saw him in Hollywood and the little bit I saw him in Twisters isn't enough for me to say, oh, I think this should be Indiana Jones. And by the way, we're not going to get Indiana Jones for years. Even if the reports are correct that they're aiming to redo Indiana Jones and relaunch it, the reports all also say that they're going to give it a cooling off period. And I think that minimum means 3 or 4 years. So again, it's way too early to be handing out fan castings to David Cornsweet. Let's see Superman first. Okay. Again, then maybe after watching Superman, maybe I'll agree, but I'm just thinking for now, let's at least see Superman before we kind of throw anything around. All right. What's next?
Miguel says, hey brother, I usually don't mind or complain about trailers and ads before a movie. I actually enjoy them as part of the whole theater experience, but that midnight showing of Jurassic World was something else. It was scheduled for 12:01 a.m., but the actual movie didn't start until 12:45. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's unconscionable.
It's unacceptable. It's like that. You got to take these things into consideration if you're a movie theater, man. Like, people are already staying up till like 2:30 in the morning on a work night. Nah, let's keep them up till 3:30 in the morning on a work night. Listen, and I'm a guy who loves movie trailers. Okay. I made a whole documentary about movie trailers. I like movie trailers, but to a degree. The ArcLight Cinema in Hollywood, RIP, had the most perfect approach. Showtime hits, we show 3 trailers, and then the movie. That's the approach. That's the approach. Again, we've had discussions the last few days about, well, if they give you warning in advance that the movie doesn't start till 25 minutes after that, is that okay? And it's like, that's actually not a bad compromise, but yeah, man, it's just, yeah, trailers are good, but you can get too much of a good thing. I love ice cream, but don't put 7 pints in front of me. It's going to make me sick. I'll die. Yeah. Anyway. All right. What's next?
We got Christopher who says, John, your thoughts on influences some YouTube channels getting invited to special Superman screenings while dressed in Superman t-shirts and costumes. Can we take their opinion seriously?
They're fans. What's wrong with that? Yes, you can take their opinion seriously. Listen, I've gone to, like, I was literally invited and at the world premiere of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I was there. I stood beside Mark Hamill. I stood by Bob Iger, and literally bumped into Frank Oz. Like, literally, he was in a cast and on crutches. She nearly killed him. She nearly knocked him over and killed him. I got to be there. I was there with all the stars. George Lucas. I was there. And then when I came out, pulled out my phone to do my out of theater reviews, and I said, "This isn't it, guys. This isn't it." I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. And I was at the world premiere with all the stars. But yeah, like, I came out, I'm like, guys, this isn't it. There's nothing wrong with fans. And that's what we are. I mean, look, at the core of it, I don't do this job because I'm some film journalist. I'm not a film journalist. I'm a movie fan. Period. End stop. That's what I am. I'm a movie fan. I love Superman. I love Star Wars. I love the MCU. I love Shawshank Redemption. I love movies, man. I just love movies. I'm a big nerd. That doesn't take away the validity of when I say I don't like something and when I say that I do. And listen, if you question the integrity of the YouTubers you watch, well, then you shouldn't watch those YouTubers. That's on you. The problem is that people only question the integrity of people when they like movies that they don't want to be good. Like, it's kind of funny. Like when I say I like a movie that somebody on YouTube agrees with me that it's good, oh, it's perfectly good. But the moment I like a movie they don't like, shill. You're shill. Why? Because you like this movie and I don't like it, so you're shill. Like, all right, whatever floats your boat, man. Yeah, you either believe in the integrity of the person you're watching or not. Guess what? I know tons of film critics that are big fans of things. And when they don't like something, they say they don't like it. And if they say they like it, newsflash, it's because they liked it. That doesn't mean you're going to like it, but it means they liked it. So, yeah, listen, I've come out of a lot of Star Wars screenings of people dressed like Jedis and have the Darth Maul face paint and everything come out and say, that sucked. Yeah. It's just, you're a fan. So, yeah, yes. Listen, all film critics, every bad review you've ever read comes from a film critic who got invited to an advanced screening of a movie at a critic screening. Every bad review you've read have come from that. So don't act all shocked and surprised. Anyway, all right, what's next?
We got Matan, who says, oh, wrong shot. Can I say that the first poster for Odyssey gave me a bad impression of how minimalist it is? It doesn't scream epic. This poster is very akin to the flat design between this and the armor. I feel that Nolan isn't going to make it grandiose. It's hard to say.
Okay, first, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Number one, you do know, of course, that Christopher Nolan doesn't make the posters, right? Number two, you do know this isn't actually the movie poster. This is a tease thing that's out like a full year before the movie comes out.
It's hard to say what that represents.
Because of what some ad agency made in a poster, I don't believe the filmmaker has made a grand experience. Dude, that come on, man. You're smarter than that. That's seriously one of the dumbest things I've heard all day. Anyway, all right, let's move on. What's next?
Nolan not being grandiose. Come on. Bernard Gayton says, hey, John, my parents prefer dubbed movies, so I called my local AMC to ask if they'd offer one like they have for other movies. They were amazing, requested a dubbed version for the distributor, and set up a screening just for it. I didn't think they would.
I'd be really curious to know what movie we're talking about.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm actually somebody, I do prefer subtitles to dubs, but the big advantage of dubbed movies, I mean, obviously the drawback is you're not actually getting the voice of the performer and you're going to lose something there. 100% agree with that. But one of the drawbacks of subtitles, and I say this as somebody who prefers subtitles, is that while you're reading, your eyes aren't on the things going on the screen. I can read what the actor is saying, but while he's saying it, I'm not seeing the expressiveness on his face because my eyes go down here to read, right? Now, again, the drawback of the dub is that you're not hearing the true inflections of the performance. That's the drawback there. On the opposite side of that coin, the drawback of the subtitles is that you're having momentarily take your eyes off what's going on screen and get the physical performance that's going on as the dialogue's being delivered. So yeah, there are pros and cons on both sides. Again, I'm a subtitle guy, but I totally understand why other people like the dubs better. All right, what's next?
Anonymous, what's a trilogy that you pretend the third movie doesn't exist because the first two are just so good? The third ruins the whole collection. For me, it's Spider-Man 3. Probably Rise of Skywalker would be one.
Yeah, although, I mean, I didn't love The Last Jedi either. I mean, I don't care. I'll have this debate with anybody, anywhere, anytime. I love the Phantom Menace, or not the Phantom Menace, The Force Awakens. I love The Force Awakens. I thought it was great. Me and Schnepp used to sneak out every afternoon when we'd have a little bit of break, run across the street, go into the AMC and watch it again. I used to love it a lot. Not so much of The Last Jedi. There are elements of The Last Jedi I really liked and elements that I really hated. Wow, ones where I mean, yeah, the Spider-Man one's a good example of that. Like, I'll never watch that third one again. I watch Spider-Man 1 and 2 all the time, but yeah, I think I watched Spider-Man 3, hated it. Couple years later, gave it another shot, still hated it. So I just kind of pretend that one doesn't work. What's another one though? Matrix.
Oh yeah.
Matrix. Listen, I know not a lot of people totally love the second Matrix. I did. I thought the second Matrix is actually kind of underrated. I really like Matrix Reloaded. But the third one, not so much. And then let's not even talk about, what was it? Matrix Resurrection?
Uh-huh.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I believe so. Resurrection.
That movie fucking sucks.
I was so hyped for that too.
So was I. It's so bad. Trying to think of another one. A lot of people will say Godfather, but I honestly believe Godfather 3, while clearly the weakest of the three, I still contend Godfather 3 is a very good movie.
It doesn't, because his qualification was it ruins the trilogy, and it does not at all. I mean, I don't necessarily, I usually stop at 2, but I don't feel like, oh, then they made 3 and it ruined the whole thing.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Bry Guy, John, what's more likely, Tom Cruise giving a voice acting in a future animated film, or Jack Black starring in a more dramatic role? Think Good Will Hunting, or something like that.
I could totally see first of all, I could see both of those things happening, but I think it's very easy for Tom Cruise to do a voice in an animated film. I mean, just because he hasn't really done it so far doesn't mean he'll never do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably going to be expensive, but I mean, for Tom Cruise, it's awesome. What, 2 days? You need me for 2 days? You're going to give me $2.5 million for 2 days work? Sure. Right? So I could totally see that happening. 100%. By the way, Jack Black is a capable actor, but he's having so much success right now.
Right.
Doing his Jack Black thing. I mean, why would you depart from that right now? But again, I think both could happen. I think it's more likely with the Tom Cruise thing.
Fully capable of going dramatic.
All right, what's next?
Anonymous, the CGI of her face when she did the car flip in Ironheart was so bad.
Oh, I don't remember it. I remember the car flip, which is done in every single now superhero movie. Every single superhero movie or show now has a thing where the cars come in and they stop the car and the car flips over them. But I honestly don't remember the CGI on that. Now remember, this is a TV show. It's a TV show. I've actually been I'm actually kind of impressed with how good the visuals have looked in this show. For a Disney Plus show, they actually, for most part, they look pretty movie quality, for the most part. All right, what's next?
Carlos with a $20 tip says streamed.
Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate that, man.
Streamed all of the new seasons of The Bear, Squid Game, and Ironheart this last week. 2 out of 3 were great, but guess how many I'll be talking about in a few weeks? Holding up a 0 with my hand. Let's do away with dropping episodes all at once.
Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate. By the way, you know what I read this morning? I was completely under the impression that this was the last season of The Bear. I read this morning they just greenlit season 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I still have not watched Bear season 3. Sorry, I've
4.
still not watched season 4.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed in season 3, to be honest with you. And so, don't get me wrong, I still want to watch season 4. I do. I just haven't had a chance to get around to that. But I will get around to that. I'll never watch Ironheart again. But again, man, great ending. Got to give it that. And I still haven't watched Squid Game season 2. So I may never get around to watching season 3. I don't know. We'll see. All right. We only got time for a couple more. What's next?
Neil Druckmann just announced that he's stepping away from creative involvement with The Last of Us on HBO so he can focus on being the head of Naughty Dog and working on its upcoming games. I wonder how this will affect the quality of Last of Us Season 3.
Yeah, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow. Like, the report just came out just as we're about to start the show, and there weren't a lot of details yet. More details are emerging right now, so we'll talk more about this on the show tomorrow. Honestly, while it's been very good having him there to get everything going, fact is you got Craig Mazin there. As long as you got Craig Mazin, you know the writing's going to be great. And at some point, I mean, a lot of people wondering, when is he going to get back to his responsibilities at Naughty Dog? So anyway, we'll go more into it on tomorrow's show. But yeah, I suspect as long as Craig Mazin's still there, I think it's still going to be in really good hands. All right, last question of the day. What's
Ethan
next?
Holgate says, "Hi guys, Jurassic World Rebirth came out today. I went to see it this morning, hoping it would be better than the last one. Nope, yet another disappointment. I'm honestly done with these movies. If they ever make another one, I won't be there to see it."
Yeah, you say that now. But if they do another one, and if the trailer looks great, you'll be there. Of course you will. But no, I agree. This was not a good movie, man. And, I've been saying for 3 months leading up to this, you know what? This is the one. I think this Jurassic World movie's the one. It just feels like they're getting back to the spirit of the original, and these trailers have been great. And I've been very, very pro Jurassic World Rebirth, man. I've been hyping it up. I've been excited about it. And then I went to go see it. It's got some great things in it. Right? It's got a couple of great sequences in it, but there's about 20 minutes of greatness in that 2 hour and 20-minute movie. And the rest of it is pretty snooze inducing. So yeah, it is what it is, but who are we kidding, man? If they put out another one, I don't think they should. And I don't think they will, but if they do put out another one, you show one great action sequence in a trailer, like 10 seconds of a velociraptor fighting some dude or what. Let's not pretend like we're not going to go to it. Of course, we're still going to go and check it out. It's a Jurassic Park movie. All right, guys, listen. I know there's still a couple more questions left, but we've got a hard out today because, like I said, I've got to go get ready to go to this AEW thing. Jonathan's got an appointment too, so we're going to have to cut it off today. But don't worry. We will pick right up where we left off on tomorrow's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. I hope you guys will come back and join us for that. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. A big thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported our channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Again, big thank you to Robert Meyer Burnett. Thanks to Jonathan Voico.
See you guys tomorrow.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.